Have you ever wondered what makes a romance a romance? Well, today I have the answer for you. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is Charles from the channel Books on Stereo, and I'm here to talk about, or better yet, define what a romance is. And now this video is more geared towards like the newbies, or people who are just getting into the romance genre. So for all you like long-time romance readers, you probably won't find too much value in this discussion, but I still hope you stick around because I still think it's a nice little refresher course. Because I think in publishing, especially in nowadays, that line is getting really blurred on what is considered a romance versus what is not considered a romance. So in a very overall kind of umbrella sense, a romance basically is a book that features a romance plot. And by that, yes, I basically just use the word to define what the word is, but essentially the main plot of the book focuses on the characters' relationships. Now this could be a romantic relationship between 2 characters, 3 characters, 4 characters, whatever you want, but the first and foremost point of the novel is to build those romantic relationships. And this is not to say that you can't have any other types of other subplots in romance, because when you think about it, all those additions of those different types of subplots is what creates the different genres within the romance genre. So by that I mean if you add like dragons or like a shifter, then it becomes more of a paranormal romance. And then you can employ certain tropes in that romance. But the core of what makes a romance is it has to focus on developing a romantic relationship between the characters, or more than one character if you're talking like harem romances. Now, additionally, in order to be considered a true romance novel, you need to have what we call an HEA or HFN. Now, HEA is abbreviation for happily ever after, and HFN is happy for now. So it's kind of widely accepted within the romance community that your ending needs to contain either a happily ever after or a happy for now. That doesn't mean it can't be a little bit bittersweet, but at the end of the book, the couple in a lot of ways needs to be together by the end of the book. Now this is different for series where you're following the same couple throughout multiple books. You don't have to end each book with a happily ever after, because in a series that would be kind of redundant and a little bit annoying. But at the end of the series, there is that expectation, specifically if you're calling it a romance, that those 2 characters either end up together and they live happily ever after, or they're just happy for now. Now I see most romances tend to go for the happily ever after, so you tend to get like the epilogue-itis is what I call it, where some authors just like writing epilogue after epilogue after epilogue. So basically a lot of the romance end with like the 2 characters getting married and then they have kids, and then you have another epilogue like 2 years later where they have another kid, and that's how a lot of romances end. So now that we kind of have like a little bit more of a ground, or like what you can say like a baseline for what constitutes a romance novel, now we can delve into how publishing in a lot of ways confuses and try to manipulate this genre to push other different types of books. Now, one chief offender is what you call women's fiction or chick lit. I hate that title because there is no such thing as men's fiction. A lot of times with those women fiction or chick lit style books, like one great author is Catherine Center. She is technically more a women's fiction writer, or like Jennifer, I forgot the author's name, but she wrote Big Summer, if you guys know that book. I think it was a book that released either this year or last year. Now, a lot of times those books are actually pushed into the romance category because they do feature pretty prominently a romance, but for those books, what kind of differentiates women's fiction versus a straight up romance novel is that in a women's fiction novel, the romance is not the main plot. It's usually like the character coming to accept herself or go through some type of journey, or deal with like a family issue, or deal with like a traumatic issue, or just like any range of different problems or issues. And so yes, they may have a romance, but that romance is not the main plot, nor are you guaranteed that that romance is going to end in an HEA or HFN, which is widely considered a requirement for being considered a romance book. And I know people won't like me saying this author's name, like Nicholas Sparks is one author that constantly gets pushed into the romance category, even though his books are technically not romance. Like take like the book like The Notebook. Yes, it features a romance as the main storyline, but the characters die in the end. And the reason why a lot of these books are pushed into the romance genre when they really aren't technically romances is because romance is a huge business in the publishing industry. Like romance generates like millions and billions of dollars, especially when you consider how they release new releases. Most romances go straight to like mass market paperbacks or trade paperbacks, and sometimes even hardcovers, but those usually only come out for the really popular authors. And so a lot of those like mass market paperbacks or trade paperbacks tend to sell for around $10 or less. So they're much more affordable, and the ebooks are priced accordingly. And so one other point that I really want to make is that, let's take like YA for instance. YA has a ton of contemporaries, and in most of those contemporaries there is a romance. Now you don't see those books being called romances, even though they have a pretty prominent romance. They're still considered contemporaries. Versus an adult, you see that line kind of blurred a little bit more and more and more. And I get it, it's like a great marketing tool, but for one book I read, like Love Unscripted by Owen Nichols, yes, it features a romance, but it's about how that romance failed. So it doesn't end in happily ever after or happy for now. It's just a regular contemporary book with a romance in it. I hope the distinction is very clear. So you can essentially have a book, whether it doesn't matter what genre it is, it could be contemporary, paranormal, fantasy, literary fiction, and it can have a romance in it. But unless it doesn't meet those two requirements for what basically qualifies a book as a romance novel, then it isn't a romance novel, and that is case in point. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know down in the comment section down below if this video was helpful for you in any way, and if you want to see me make more videos like this, and I'll catch you guys with a brand new video. Peace.